Joining us right now here on the Mercedes-Benz Vans phone line is one of our favorites. He's a Pro Football Hall of Fame head coach and also a member of NBC Sports, just like us, from Sunday Night Football, Football Night in America, Tony Dungy. How are you, Tony Dungy?
I'm well, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Better for talking to you, and I truly mean that, sir.
Well, you're doing fine, too, since your Wolverines are rolling right now.
Well, Tony, I've been chest out quite a bit. I have been talking. I've been writing a ton of checks that Iowa can return to sender on Saturday, but I'm over the moon right now, Tony.
No, I'll tell you what, they're playing well.
Well, they're playing old school football, aren't they? You know, just like John's doing, I guess, for the Ravens that we saw on Sunday night. You know, they're 41 runs. I mean, my gosh, that's what we call commitment to that running game.
And not in 2021, we don't see that all the time. It's spread them out, you know, throw, be electric, but to play old school, run, and tough inside football, it was kind of a throwback. It was.
What do you think of the situation that unfolded in college football this week, where Lincoln Riley and Brian Kelly leave Oklahoma and Notre Dame for much greener financial pastures and technically maybe even coaching pastures, but being done right at the outset of a college football playoff season that Notre Dame's right in the middle of right now, Tony?
It's a little surprising. In Oklahoma, you know, maybe a little bit farther out of it, but they are in the same boat too. You're preparing for a bowl game. The coaches are out recruiting. Brian Kelly was in California, I guess, recruiting someone. You're talking to somebody about coming to Notre Dame and why it's the best place in the world to come. And then in 30 minutes, as these coaches say, hey, I had one conversation, and all of a sudden I'm in at USC or I'm at LSU. It's the way things are, you know, and everything's a business. But it's disappointing. You feel badly for the kids. You know, you feel badly for guys who got recruited thinking they're going to play for a coach, and the coach has done everything he can to sell them, and then it is not there. And it's our system, and you can't begrudge people of that, but it is disappointing.
Well, I mean, were you reached out to, Tony? Because, I mean, I know that Tomlin was on a wish list for USC, and if people are shooting their shot with no, I'm serious. If they're shooting their shot, you're like the ultimate shoot your shot. Let's see if he'll say no, guy.
I think most people now understand that I've been retired for 13 years. I would have been flattered, but no, I was not reached out to. But I guess with the money that they're talking about, you would at least have to think about it. I'd still say no, but I wouldn't say no right as soon as I answer the phone. And when they're talking about $100 million. You'd have to think about it and then say no.
But you'd have hung up the phone and thought about it, right? Is what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Well, I bet so.
But some of it is crazy. The money that's involved and just the fact that, gosh, what was I reading at LSU that X number of professors and the top people on campus, 25 or 30 of them, don't make what they're going to pay the head football coach. That's where we are. And the head football coach brings more notoriety and more attention to the school and increases donors and that type of thing. So it's supply and demand, I guess.
What do you think these contracts, like the one, for instance, that's rumored to be Lincoln Riley's, where houses are bought above market value, private jets are afforded to his family. How do you think that lands with professional NFL head coaches? Do you think that gives an idea, maybe, a little bit?
It will, and eventually when they do seriously start coming after the Mike Tomlins and Sean Paytons and people like that, then it is going to have a rollover effect into the NFL, where the NFL owners may say now, well, I'm not doing that, but, you know, you lose a great coach. You know, you lose someone, you'll have to think about it. And then now an NFL coach, I've always signed up for long term and get the security, but maybe I want to be on a 1 year, 2 year deal if I can get a college to throw $15 million at me, and then I can go back to my owner and say, do you really want me to stay? I think it is going to have some ramifications.
Right. I mean, certainly since, you know, the college schemes have now bled into the pros. Maybe the college contracts can as well.
We'll have to see.
We'll
have to see.
Tony Dungy here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your team that you think is best that you've seen with your own two eyes, either sitting there in the studio or getting out to a game, Tony, through the first 12 weeks of the NFL season is which? Which one do you think?
It's funny. I said in September that it would probably be November 1st just because of the way things have gone with off-season programs being cut short, COVID, nobody playing in the preseason. I just didn't see that consistency in September and October. And I thought by November 1, I would kind of know who the top 5 or 6 teams are. But I have to say I really don't. Baltimore is playing great. They go to Miami and get throttled by the Dolphins, who had only won one game at the time. And, Tennessee was playing great. They lose a big part of their offense, but they're struggling the last 2 weeks. And we've just seen it over and over and over again. Arizona maybe is playing the best and most consistent, but they had a game where they lost to Carolina. So it's just I'm not sure who's going to be hot and stay hot through December in the playoffs. New England is probably playing the most consistent football of anybody right now.
Now, I was going to say that team, Tony, because in terms of right now, as you pointed out, now it's funny you said you'd give yourself to November 1st. Here we are just after December 1st, and we still kind of are shrugging about it right now, is that in terms of knowing what a team can do, and then that team shows up each week, right? It shows up each week, physically, mentally, schematically. New England is that team right now that you know who you are, you know what they are, and they show up.
They are. They're not going to be flashy, but they are going to do their job and do their thing every week. You're going to have to beat them. They're not going to beat themselves, and they're going to play as close to their max as they can every week, and that's what you're going to ask for. My heart is with the Indianapolis Colts, and I see them get a 2-score lead on Baltimore and lose the game, and get a 2-score lead on Tampa and lose the game, and they're for 20 minutes at a time, they're as good as anybody in the league. But they've got some losses, that are hard to explain. So can we get that team to show up for 60 minutes? If you do, they're as good as anybody.
Tony Dungy here on the Rich Eisen Show. We just saw on NBC on Sunday night the Cleveland Browns. They're 6-6 on a bye week, sitting at home right now. What is your sense of what is going on with that offense, the passing game, and the conversation that's being had surrounding Baker Mayfield? What is your general sense of what you saw Sunday night and how indicative that is of Baker Mayfield's fit in Cleveland?
Well, 2 things we have to understand about Baker. Number one, he's hurt. Okay, and he's not 100%. He's out there playing, which I admire and I give him credit for. And number 2, if you look at Cleveland last year, when he played so well, and he did play well, they had this running game going, and they ran and they threw play-action passes. They made you defend certain things, and they were in a rhythm. Well, Nick Chubb, goes out with COVID. Kareem Hunt is on the IR for a little bit. Their running game is not the same. They're not built to just drop back and throw 35, 40 times a game and have the quarterback be spectacular. That's not who they are. And I think coming down the stretch, and I think after this bye, Baker will be a little bit healthier. The runners will be healthier. They losing the one offensive tackle really hurts. But they're going to get back to their identity of who they are, and he's going to throw the ball more effectively in December. People want him to be something that he's not. You look at Ryan Tannehill right now. Ryan Tannehill played great for all of last year and most of this year, and even a game or two after Derrick Henry went out, he played great. But now all of a sudden it's not the same, and you're seeing more coverages, different kind of coverages. You don't have that. You get in the red zone, and he never threw interceptions or turned the ball over because everybody had to play Derrick Henry. And that makes it easier for you. Now they've got to find different things. I think Cleveland's the same way. They'll get back to who they are, and they'll get Chubb and Hunt rolling, and you're going to see some good Baker Mayfield in December.
Well, I guess the issue for Mayfield as well that I've mentioned here many times, Tony, I want to bounce off you, is the fact that he's a number 1 overall pick. and you've got two guys in the draft, Josh Allen in particular, not Lamar, who can just do it without the run game. They don't need the run game. As a matter of fact, maybe they're the run game. That's not Baker. They're also the run game. They don't need the run game. They can just do it. And that complementary football, you can have a championship quarterback be in a complementary football team if you're Mac Jones drafted in the middle of the first round, or Tom Brady, right? If you're 199th overall and he's grown onto obviously somebody who doesn't require complementary football day in and day out, and he's been that for decades. But is Baker Mayfield a championship quarterback if he's required to have a complementary football approach?
You know, it depends on how the team is built, and that's what people don't always understand. You know, you can build a team to revolve around the quarterback, or you can build a team that's going to win and the quarterback's a part of it. And, you know, I don't know, is Baker Mayfield, there's probably only 2 or 3 quarterbacks playing right now, maybe Aaron Rodgers. You know, we saw Tom Brady when the team kind of struggled in 2019, and everybody, you know, what's wrong with Tom Brady? Maybe we're coming to the end. Well, we weren't coming to the end. The team just wasn't what it had been, and they were missing some cogs the way they were constructed. You know, and I think that's where Cleveland is. Cleveland is not a team with dynamic wide receivers and a passing game that's just going to go out there and light it up every week, no matter who's there. And we've seen Aaron Rodgers do that. We've seen him with Devontae Adams out and still throw to other guys and be great, because that's how they're constructed. They're built around Aaron Rodgers. But, you know, not everybody's like that.
So do you think, maybe in the last one for you on this, that the Browns aren't properly constructed around Baker? Because, I mean, if you remember...
I think they are who they are, and they're built for what Kevin Stefanski wants. He wants to be a dominant running team. He wants to be very physical. He wants wide receivers who block, and he wants to win the way you're going to have to win in Cleveland, you know, in the wintertime. And I think that's what he's constructing. Now, you know, when all those elements aren't there and they aren't running the ball dominant, you know, can Baker win games for them by himself? Probably not, and probably not at this point. But that's okay. You know, that's who they are.
Have you watched the Manningcast yet, Tony? Have you watched any of it?
I have watched parts of it. My wife actually likes to watch the regular broadcast better.
Okay.
Because she wants to know what down and distance it is and how much time is left in the game.
She's a traditionalist.
And sometimes you don't get that on the Manningcast.
So she's a traditionalist.
She's a traditionalist.
Okay,
yeah.
What do you think of Peyton's broadcasting skills? What do you think so far?
Well, I think it's definitely a different style that people gravitate to. Peyton could be an exceptional color commentator, yes, just on a regular broadcast. He can certainly do this. He can do it kind of any way you want. I think this really plays to a lot of people, fans like me, who I can watch the game and see what's happening in the background and, yes, listen to him and the guests and get entertained and get information and still watch the game. I think it plays to a niche of people, but I think he's really good at it.
Yeah, I know. But if he did a traditional broadcast, Tony, we wouldn't be able to watch him eat during it. You know, I mean, like,
yeah,
you know,
he'd be limited.
You know, we wouldn't be getting the full scope, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen Peyton eat before. I haven't. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. So, you know. No,
to me, it really does. It seemed like, hey, we're in how we were 15 years ago, watching film in the complex, and you know, hey, he's pointing out things, and we're talking about different things that are going on. It's just like watching tape with him, and that's a pretty cool feeling, I would think, for the general audience.
It sure is to me too, Tony, in the fact that I just love watching him, and Eli too, but Peyton in particular. He gets particularly irked by bad football. Terrible. He gets.
You know what? And I can sympathize with him, because I sit in our viewing room the same way. I'm sitting up there with Drew Brees. I used to sit there with Rodney Harrison.
Yeah.
And you watch things happen, and you say, certainly they had to cover that. What was this running back thinking? How could you run out of bounds with a minute and 20 seconds left in your head? How could you? That just can't happen.
Right.
And it does. And then I feel like that old man who's telling people to get off the lawn, and I say, I got to calm down.
Well, the funny thing is I used to watch games with Dion, and Dion would scream at anybody who made a bad mistake. He would scream at the screen, cut him. He said, if I was coaching, I would cut him before coming back. And now look who's the SWAC coach of the year.
I know. I know.
How about that?
It's so funny, It is so funny. You get so mesmerized by just, not feeling like that should happen.
Right.
And when it does happen, it just kills you as a former player, as a former coach.
Yeah.
And then you realize, hey, you know what? Everybody's out there trying. Nobody wants to make mistakes. But they happen, and the more you can cut, that's why I admire New England so much. They work on that. They cut out those bad plays, and they make people beat them. And if you do that, you're going to win a ton of games.
Tony Dungy, thanks for the time. You take care. Let's talk down the line. And obviously, in advance, I'll ask you on the air. I'd love to see you in person when you're out here for the Super Bowl, for Super Bowl 56. We'll see you soon.
We got to do it.
I'd love to. You be well, Tony Dungy. You take care of yourself.
All righty.
That's Tony Dungy, everybody. Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.